everyone. So I have the reread book tag. This is obviously just for like if you reread, then you know this would be probably an interesting tag for you to do. But if you don't reread, then this would just, you know, not be for you. So this one here says, number one, let's assume you do reread if you're doing this tag. So where do you sit on the rereading scale from almost never to all the time? I would say like years ago, before I had this channel, before I've done like book content, I used to reread a good amount, you know, especially when I was with my ex at the time. I had a lot of books that I had bought, but eventually what happened was I ended up running out of books to read, like new books to read. And so I would reread books that I already read, just so I, you know, kept reading. But now I'd see, because I have more money or more access to books, I'm able to read a lot of new books throughout the year. So I'd say I do less rereading lately, but in 2026, I do want to reread more books and post them like on my Patreon and do that. So I would like to get back into like rereading some books. So I'd say right now it's like almost never, or it's like I do sometimes every now and again, especially if I hit like a reading slump. I like to go back to my old favorites and stuff. So I'd say it doesn't happen too much. So number two, has that changed over your reading life? Yeah, like I said, if I have books available to me, then I reread less. But if I have less books, then yeah, I'm going to be rereading more, you know? So yeah. 3, when do you reread? Maybe immediately after finishing a book, or not till years later, or when the mood strikes? It's basically when the mood strikes. Usually if, say, I hit like a book slump, I like to go back and reread. I'll look at my books and like, what do I want to reread? You know, just so I'm like, there's something that I've enjoyed in the past and I want to enjoy it again. So I'll do that, and it will help me get out of a reading slump too. So I do that. But yeah, for me, it's usually it's like maybe years later, or like I said, it depends on my mood. When the mood strikes, I'd be like, maybe I'll think about that book and I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't reread that one in a while. Let me go and pick that up and reread it, you know? So most times it's usually by my mood. Number 4 is, why do you reread books? Well, because, you know, you read the book, and if you really, really loved it, and it had like this profound effect on you, you want to have that feeling back again. You know, it's almost like if you could go back with like a clean slate of like, I haven't read those books. You know, it's almost like you lose your memory of like reading those books, so you pick them up again and then you have that same feeling again. You're basically looking for the same feeling you felt the first time you read that book. That's basically what you're searching for. Is you're trying to get that feeling back, and you're like, oh, I love these characters. Or for me, it's like the romance, and I'm like, I love this romance. It's so sweet, you know, and so you want to go back to that again, you know, and reread those favorite, you know, those favorite parts or those favorite lines that just had that effect on you, you know. Number 5 is, how do you reread? Faster, slower, just the best bits? Most times it's usually just the best bits, because I usually have like little tags in my books of all my favorite scenes of the book. So I usually kind of like go in and just kind of like reread those parts. But every now and again I'll be like, no, I'm going to go in and reread the whole book. Yeah, it usually depends on my mood. But I'd say most times if I go back and reread something, it's usually just like my favorite parts, to kind of like I said, get that feeling back, you know, that you read the first time. Um, 6 is who or what do you reread more specifically? Which authors or genres or individual books? Oh man. Um, I've reread Lisa Kleypas. I love Dreaming of You. I've reread that book how many times? I've reread Again the Magic how many times? I love her Wallflower series, but I especially will reread Devil in Winter most of the time. I reread that one a lot. It's my favorite out of the whole series. Even though I like the whole series, I'd say my least favorite though is the second book in the series. That's my least favorite. But my absolute favorite is Devil in Winter. I love Sebastian St. Vincent. This is why I refuse to read the last book in the Ravenel series. I do not want to read that one. So yeah, I love Devil in Winter. There are some Sabrina Jeffries books that I have that I go back and reread. I kept like 1 or 2 books from her School of Heiresses series. There's like the last book of the series that had to do with the woman who was running the School of Heiresses and her love story. It was basically like it was a reconnection of these characters. I loved that book. I love that one. It was so sweet. I have that one. I reread that one. So there's a few books of Sabrina Jeffries that I really like. I love The Pirate Lord. People may not like that because pirate romances kind of get a bad rap, but I loved The Pirate Lord back in the day, and I've reread that book like how many times. That one's a good one. Oh, what the heck's that other one called again? It was another series that she had did that I liked the series, but I'd say like there was only like maybe like 2 of them that I really, really, really liked. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, that I've reread that one a few times. There's this other book that I've loved over the years. It was called Portrait of a Lover. The author went in, I believe it got retitled. I believe it got re-released and retitled. I don't know why it got retitled, but I always know it as Portrait of a Lover. And I love that book. I've reread that book a few times, at least. I could count on the amount of times I've read it on one hand. I've at least read like at least a few times, like maybe more. I love that book. That one I love. It's another one where it's like a reconnection of these people who knew each other years ago, and something happened that caused them to like separate. Oh, I love that one. That one was really good too. That one I liked. Again, like Lisa Kleypas, I love the Hathaway series. I love that one. I will reread that series because I love that one. There's earlier books of Julia Quinn that I love and I still keep. I will reread those ones too, like Splendid. I think it's called Dancing at Midnight. There's like how many that I have of hers that I have reread like a few times at least. And yeah, those ones, I'm trying to think. Oh, Claire Kent's like Kindled series. I've reread that series like I think at least 2 or 3 times already. Like I'll go back to certain books and reread them. Like I love Last Light, even though she doesn't consider it a part of the series, but it totally is. It totally is. It's a prequel. It's a prequel of the series. I love that book. I've reread that one like a few times, and I'm trying to think. In my head, I'm trying to think what else. I go back to like Ruby Dixon's like Ice Planet Barbarian series, and I've reread that one like a couple times, 2 or 3 times. Same thing with the Ice Home series. There's certain books in those series that I love them. And I go back to reread them. They're like comfort reads, you know? So yeah, there's definitely certain comfort reads I have that I like to go back to frequently, and reread them because they bring me back into that place again that, you know, I really loved. So yeah, I have certain favorites that I love to go back and like reread, especially like if they pop in my head and I'm like, oh, now I need to reread it. Now I need to reread it. So, okay, this is so funny. It went from 6 to 10. It's someone had did 6 to 10. Okay, that's weird. So it should be number 7, not 10. So number 7 is there a book that you found better when you reread it? I don't know. I'm trying to think. Maybe like there might be certain things that if I reread a book, I'd be like, oh, I totally forgot about that. And it might add a little bit more to the book of like why I liked it. So sometimes that will happen where I'm like, oh, I completely forgot about this scene. And then it kind of like brings it back to me and refreshes my memory. And then I'm like, oh, that's why I love this book, you know? So sometimes that happens and it'll kind of like reaffirm to me of why I enjoyed that book in the first place, you know? So I'd say that. There's that. What are we on? 8. Yeah, number 8. 8 is, and one that was worse. Okay. Let me think. Definitely T.L. Swan's The Stopover. When I reread that book, the more I reread it, the more I get annoyed with the character of Jameson. He's the hero. I was so annoyed with him. First time I read the book, I was like, oh, wow, this is great. Like, I gave it 5 stars. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, I almost give that book a 2 or 3. Because the more I reread that book, the more I hate the hero. He annoys me so fucking much. And I get so frustrated with this character. And I literally had got rid of the book. I had the book on my shelf. And every time I went back to reread it again, the more his character infuriated me. That I had to get to the point where I'm like, fuck you, dude. I don't want to read you again. And I got rid of the book. I had donated that book. And I'm trying to think. There's some earlier books of Lisa Kleypas's where the more I read them, the more kind of like creeped out I got with like the characters, like especially with like when a heroine was so young. Like there was one book that the heroine was like 18 and the hero was like in his like 30s or early 40s. And the more I read it, the more I'm like, I got creeped out with the hero where I'm like, she's too young. You know, she's way too young for you. I know she's 18, but still it's like she's way too young for you and too innocent. And you've had like your years. Like he was married to another woman and had a kid, you know, and the child was like preteens. So I'm like the daughter was not that much younger than the dude's new wife, you know? So I mean, there was like book like that where I was like, I can't remember the name of it. I think it got renamed, but I can't remember the name of it. But that one, like every time I've reread that one, I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like the hero. The more I get creeped out with the hero. And there's another one, I think it's called Prince of Dreams by Lisa Kleypas. That one there, the more I've reread it, the more I'm like, I can't stand the hero. The more I got annoyed with him and pissed off with his character. I had gotten rid of that book too. Like, there's books over the years that, like, they kind of don't hold up over time. And I just got rid of them. Like, there's how many books I've gotten rid of that I had at one time that were all like Lisa Kleypas. I've gotten rid of like how many of them that I was like, I don't like these books anymore. Like, I've reread them enough to where I don't care for them, and I'd rather not read them anymore, you know? Where, like I said, there's some other ones of hers that she's done where the more I reread it, the more I'm like, oh God, I love, love this book, you know? So there's, you know, two different sides when it comes to that author. Either there's books over the years where I'm like, I can't stand that book anymore. And then there's ones where I'm like, I absolutely love that book, you know? So, yeah, I've had like both. I've had like, you know, worse, best, you know? I've had all of that. So last one is, which one book have you reread most times? Ooh. It probably would be maybe Again the Magic, yeah. I've reread that one multiple times. I reread it so much that my original copy that I had was starting to, like, the spine was starting to break, you know. Pages were starting to fall out of it. That's how much I reread that book. I'd say definitely Again the Magic. I had to rebuy a copy of it. So I'd say that one I've reread how many times? Again, I'd have to say like Devil in Winter is another one where I've reread that book how many times? Portrait of a Lover, yeah, that one there. Definitely I've reread like how many times of that book. I just love that one. Yeah, that one there I've reread how many times? There's an Eden Bradley book I have. She's more, what's the term? Erotic? She does more erotic. But there's this book that I read from her years ago that I've reread like how many times that I really liked it. That one there, yeah, I've reread it like a good amount of times. I believe it's called 20th Century Courtesan. I think that's what it is. I've reread that one multiple times. And there's certain parts that I kind of like, I don't reread, but there's certain scenes that I liked with the hero and the heroine. I liked with them too, that I've reread multiple times because I really liked those scenes more than I've liked some of the other scenes in the book. But yeah, that one I have reread multiple times. But yeah, that's it for this one here. If you want to do this one, I'll leave the questions down below and you can go and do this. If you want, you can always tag me in it. I'll try to see if I can find the original creator of that and put that down below so you could see. But yeah, that's it for this video here. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. And I will see you all on the next video. All right. Bye.